Hello everyone. Today's topic is energy surge. But before I begin a kind of a formal lecture, I have three questions to pose. As a college student, I'm sure you must have thought of buying a motorcycle. So when you go to buy a motorcycle, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? It's mileage, kitna deti hai, and eventually you end up selecting a bike which is made in Japan. So this is first question: why Japan? Why Japanese auto is more popular? The second question is why Hitler lost the Second World War, and the third question is who dislodged the United Kingdom as a superpower and why? Who was behind it? The answer to this all three questions is a simple black sticky element that comes out of the earth. It's called hydrocarbon. It's oil, petrol, diesel, kerosene, whatever we call by name. It's oil. Oil has defined last 200 years of events, whatever you look at it, economics, political, social, even cultural also. So I'll take you through the exciting journey of oil, which determines your and my life, which determines your and my monthly budget, and which is going to determine the stability of the earth, which will determine the global warming issues, and eventually your and my life quality. So it all started somewhere in 1860s, 1850s, when a young kid in Pennsylvania realized there is something, some important substance coming out of the earth has an element which can be used as fuel. That young person was John D. Rockefeller in the early 20s. He realized it can be sold. So he started selling oil to the local municipal corporation, which is Pennsylvania. And then he realized he can expand the market. Then the market grew. Eventually his business also grew. He multiplied it, started selling to various states and the entire United States of America. But the problem in that was he had no big containers to sell oil. So he created a manufacturing facility to create those containers. But then he realized he don't have vehicles to carry the fuel. Then he built those vehicles. Then he realized the vehicles are still small to take it across to the other end of the United States of America. So then he thought of railway and he built railways. So in 1892, this John D. Rockefeller was one of the largest industrial entrepreneur in the world. In that year, in 1892, his wealth was double the size of what Bill Gates is today. So you can imagine the size of the empire. But around the same time, United States of America realized if any individual, if he is allowed to grow exponentially, he can challenge the state, he can challenge the government machinery. So there came the bill by a Republican senator called John Sherman. And he put up a bill in the Congress and demanding slicing of the companies. And the bill even today, which is applicable, it's called Antitrust Act. It basically controls big industrial houses from spreading their power beyond or challenging the state. So this is the history of the first oil conglomerate, and he built up companies like Standard Oil, Exxon, Mobil. You name the big company, it is from the John Rockefeller's stable. So it's around the same time there was another young person in United States of America. He was thinking of developing combustion engine. He was successful around the same time. His name is Henry Ford. There were two brothers in United States of America who were thinking of using or developing a machine, flying machine, based on the theories by Leonardo da Vinci. So they are the Wright brothers. They were successful in developing aeroplanes. So there was on other side of the continent, in across the Atlantic, there was another young person who was thinking of developing engines, a two-stroke engine. His name is Rudolf Diesel. So he developed engine. So it was around between 1900 to 1950, 1930. It was the era which saw evolution of oil in various sectors in America, in Europe. So it was around the same time there was a young person in United Kingdom. He realized its time has come now to change our warships from coal, using coal as a fuel, to oil. Oil was just emerging during those days. This gentleman is very well known, and his visionary act of converting all ships, all warships from coal fuel to oil made United Kingdom a kind of a superpower in the First World War. Why United Kingdom won in the First World War is this man's act, and this person is none other than Winston Churchill. He thought of converting United Kingdom's all ships into oil engines, basically, and that was the differentiating factor in the First World War, which Friends and the Allies won because of this invention. So this was over around 1900 and 1920. This was also the year when Ottoman Empire was breaking up. In 1919, Ottoman Empire, one of the largest empires in the world, huge kingdom, it broke into many pieces. And those powers who were controlling the world, they decided to chop that empire into pieces which can be governed by their own individual nations. So the entire Ottoman Empire was cut into various pieces. Some pieces, some land portions went to Italy. France also got some area. Something went to United Kingdom. And this was the time what we call now West Asia came into the being. The nations like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, you name it, Iran, Iraq, they were all part of one kingdom called Ottoman Empire. And all these things were coming out started coming out after 1919, 1920. So it was around the same time a small trader in Saudi Arabia realized that there is a lot of oil in Saudi sands. There was no Saudi Arabia then. Saudi Arabia came into being much later. And this person who was instrumental in extracting oil from the sand, he was of a merchandise. He had that mercantile mentality. He started selling this oil to various nations, various traders who were doing business in that particular area. The importance of this person, and he controlled it. He was nothing but a kind of a warlord. He was not a king. He was not a ruler then. But he started controlling large swaths of sand area in that particular territory. And he started selling that oil. And he is the person who eventually became the king of Saudi Arabia. Muhammad bin Ibn Saud is his name. So he never understood the importance of oil, but he understood the importance of money. And the first one to approach him were Americans. He was the person that the territory was being ruled by UK. Jordan was a big state. Jordan was part of the United Kingdom, and everything was under that particular kingdom. But somehow, it's called it a nature's fate or coincidence or a small mistake, whatever it is. United Kingdom was second in understanding importance of oil. By the time UK realized what they have missed it, this person called Muhammad bin Ibn Saud had signed a contract with a nation called United States of America. So it's very interesting when Second World War was in full swing. 1939 Second World War began. So in 1944, President of the United States personally went to see this illiterate man who was sitting on huge oil reserves to sign oil contracts. And the United States of America was so successful in giving him whatever he wanted. Whatever he wanted everything. He wanted huge gold. He wanted personal aircraft. He wanted President of the United States, Franklin Roosevelt's chair. He was impaired. He couldn't walk. So he had an automated chair which could be taken like a small vehicle. So he was mesmerized. The Saudi king was mesmerized by that. So this was also offered. By offering everything, United States of America ensured that the entire oil contracts come to them, and they were successful. That contract happened in 1944. It was a 60-year contract. So you can imagine the power United States of America could have managed to control with them. And this exactly is the answer to the question which I had posed. Why UK lost its position as a superpower? The answer is oil. Why Japanese bike you prefer? Answer is oil. Why basically the whole history violence nations and Hitler basically lost the Second World War? The answer is oil. Because by then United States of America they had realized the importance of oil. They had converted many machines, many war weaponry into oil related vehicles. Somehow Germany was deprived of oil. So oil has been a constant factor in whatever things you are looking at it and impacting your and my life since 1956, 1957 till date. So whatever has happened during this last 200 years or so, it's all because of oil. Oil created wars, oil created peace, oil basically broke nations, oil even created the terrorism. So basically, if you look into the history part of it, terrorism is a byproduct of energy wars, as I said. Then we come down to the 20th century. So it's again it's all about oil. So as we look at the world, what are the three distinct partitions or divisions we can divide the world into? Many will look at it Africans or poor or rich and this and that. But the world is divided, according to me, in only two sets of groups. The nations having enormous oil reserves or energy reserves, and the countries having no oil reserves. So the answer to the first question comes here, that is about Japan. Why Japanese bikes are fuel efficient? Because Japan was always deprived of oil, and Japanese engineers were forced to design engines in such a way that they can extract maximum mileage from the whatever oil they have, as against their American counterparts. If you look at American automobile, Hummer is not designed by any other company. Hummer is an American vehicle. You name the what you call guzzler, petrol guzzler. It had its origin in America. Why so? Because America never had an issue about non-supply of oil. It was always abundant oil for Americans, so they could afford to have very less mileage and very powerful vehicles. So and Japanese was not the case. So we look at it at this crisis as a nation having major issues, having oil reserves, and we don't have oil reserves. In 1960s, India discovered oil in Bombay High, in Ankaleshwari, in Gujarat, something in Northeast. And the engineer, again, I'll tell you a very interesting story about it. The engineer who was extracting oil in Northeast, he had deployed elephants to basically go deep into the jungle. Digging work was going on, and bring back those elephants with the heavy machinery and the work. And he used to shout at those elephants and those workers who were handling those animals. And the shout was like, "Dig, boy, dig." The digging was most important part, most crucial part in oil, because if it is not controlled, it just explodes and it fires, and it fires into a balloon, and then it becomes uncontrollable. So the dig boy dig is what today's Digboy is. The city name Digboy, the origin in this Dig Boy Dig story. So we always had this problem in procuring oil. We have very limited resources, so we were historically always dependent on West Asian nations and those who can supply us oil from various resources. So as of now, as we stand today, we should talk about the future. The position is that 82% of oil, whatever we use in today's India, is imported. Our biggest expenditure, Indian government spends huge money. The single largest expenditure we have is in importing oil, because out of 100 liters of oil, whatever we use, 82% is direct import, because we don't have oil reserves in our own country. And I'll tell you some interesting numbers to look at it. As of now, our daily consumption of oil is something like 4.2 million barrels a day. 4.2 million, it comes to something like 40 lakh 20,000 barrels a day. Just imagine a country of 130 crore people using this much oil. $60 a barrel, if it is cost, we assume that you can imagine how much money we spend on buying oil. So $1 change in oil prices is either a huge reward for the national government or a major dent, because something it comes to like $1 change. If oil prices go up by $1, Indian government additional cost goes up by 4,000 crore plus. So that much difference our economy feels when oil prices go up and down. So according to International Energy Association, IEA, which is a recognized body of energy markets, it has predicted recently India's oil demand. It says by 2040, this is something you all should be worried about. By 2040, India will be requiring oil to the tune of 80.7 lakh barrels. This is like 8.7 million barrels a day. So this is exactly double the size what we are consuming today. By 2040, we will be bigger than China in population. our oil consumption will be exactly double. And currently we have 80 to 82% imports, but by 2040, our imports will be to the tune of 90%. So you can imagine the challenge India has to face. So even if we have huge other resources like solar, battery, wind energy, whatever, atomic energy, even if we try these things, our oil demand is going to go up because hydrocarbons so far, they don't have any strong, portable, convenient alternative. So oil demand, even with alternative energy sources, is going to go up. So 80% when India reaches that level, I'll tell you again, very interesting statistics, very interesting perspective. India will be consuming 25% of daily oil production in the world in 2040. So 1/4 of oil production then in the world 2040 will be consumed by just only one nation, that is called India. As of now, till 2018, that kind of a special mention was reserved only for United States of America, which was consuming 26% of oil. But 5% of the population consuming 26% of oil in United States of America produces industrial output, has industrial output to the tune of 25% of the world. So you can imagine the challenge where have to go and how much development we have to think about. Because if you want to consume that kind of an oil, the financial pressure it will add to Indian exchequer, the pressure it will add to environmental challenges, the pressure it will add to young engineers and students like you and me. This is going to be a real major issue. So unless we understand the significance and the size of this issue, we can't think about economic progress, we can't think about environmental challenges and overall development. So this is the overall oil story. My last point will be from today onwards, start looking at oil as a major. I've been to various oil-related think tanks in the world. Unfortunately, there are not many Indian students who are going for this career. We have an excellent institute in Dehradun, which talks about oil excavation, oil engineering, and oil handling of oil-related machinery. But again, there are not many Maharashtrian students from all over the world come to that institute to study oil engineering. So my humble request will be from here onwards, even few of you can think of looking at it, oil engineering, oil excavation, and those related issues as a career option that will widen our own nation's horizon in addressing these issues. And that's what we need now, because we are a completely oil dependent economy. And if you don't understand the oil dynamics, understanding other issues will be extremely difficult. Thank you.